So, tell me why the internet woke up today acting like someone dropped a political grenade straight into the middle of Turning Point USA because apparently, Micky McCoy's wife just pulled the pin herself and threw it directly at Erika Kirk, and trust me, the explosion is still shaking the walls. And let me ask you this, why is it always the people preaching family values who end up starring in scandals that look like rejected Netflix plots? Why does every TPUSA storyline somehow turn into a crossover between House of Cards and Love and Hip Hop? And most importantly, why is Erika Kirk's name always in the middle of it? Because according to Micky McCoy's wife, the woman who has nothing left to lose and everything to expose, Erika wasn't just being friendly with people inside TPUSA. Oh no, sweetheart, she was allegedly getting way too close to the chief of staff, like close enough to make Congress blush. Screenshots? She says she has them. Receipts? She claims they're coming. Motives? Oh, buckle up, because none of this is what it looks like. And if you thought Erika's previous scandals were messy, this one doesn't just spill tea, it dumps the whole boiling pot straight onto the internet. It all started quietly, the way every major political scandal starts. Not with a press conference or a hidden camera, but with someone's spouse finally deciding, you know what? I'm done pretending. That's exactly what happened when Micky McCoy's wife stepped out of the shadows and cracked open a door that TPUSA desperately wished had stayed locked forever. Because the moment she said Erika Kirk's name, everything shifted. And not in a small way. In a catastrophic way. The kind of shift that makes donors nervous, interns start whispering, and PR teams go into full lockdown mode. But here's the question that nobody can answer yet. Why Erika? Why is it always Erika? Why is it always her name popping up in places it shouldn't be, attached to people she shouldn't be close to, inside situations that somehow only get more suspicious as more details come out? For the longest time, folks chalked it up to coincidence, maybe even jealousy. But this time, the allegations weren't coming from trolls or disgruntled ex-friends. They were coming from a wife who claims she has evidence. A wife who claims she saw things with her own eyes. A wife who insists Erika was involved with TPUSA's chief of staff in ways that had nothing to do with politics, leadership, or conservative values, and the internet did what it always does. It reacted before it processed anything. People started digging, scrolling through old posts, analyzing body language in old conference photos, zooming in on every staged smile and lingering glance. You would think these people were this video of a special FBI meme unit with the way they were dissecting screenshots. Suddenly, old clips resurfaced where Erika and the chief of staff stood a little too close, laughed a little too comfortably, exchanged looks that people now swear meant something more. And Micky McCoy's wife? She watched the entire internet unravel and simply said, "This is only the beginning." See, that's what made it different. She didn't sound emotional. She didn't sound confused or hurt or trying to get attention. She sounded calm. Calculated, like someone who knew she was sitting on something big enough to flip a whole organization sideways. She hinted at messages, secret calls, meetings that were framed as work but allegedly never stayed just work. And suddenly, the narrative wasn't about politics anymore. It wasn't about conservative branding or influencers pretending to be modern saints. It was about two people inside a movement that preaches purity and discipline, allegedly doing the exact opposite behind closed doors. And do you know what happens when you accuse someone inside TPUSA of hypocrisy? Everything happens. Donors panic. Leadership pretends they don't know anything. Staff group chats start melting down. And the public? They go wild, because nothing grabs attention faster than a scandal wrapped in morality. Erika, who brands herself as a picture-perfect emblem of faith, values, and clean living leadership, suddenly found herself painted as the main character in the kind of storyline she usually condemns online. The rumors grew louder. Anonymous insiders started whispering to certain journalists that things inside TPUSA had been tense for months, that there were ongoing internal conflicts, and that certain people were protected a little too much. People started asking how Erika always managed to survive controversies untouched. How no matter what was said about her, she still kept access, influence, and a carefully polished reputation. But then came the detail that really changed the tone. Micky's wife didn't just claim Erika was involved with the chief of staff emotionally. She claimed Erika used that connection to secure opportunities, leverage influence, and position herself in ways that other women inside the organization could never dream of. That's when the whispers became questions. Questions like, was Erika really climbing on merit? Or was something else helping her move up the ladder? Did she know things? Did she have access to things? And why did the chief of staff allegedly go out of his way to protect her? People started to piece together timelines, noticing that Erika always conveniently dodged consequences whenever controversies surrounded her. And now, with these new allegations, those coincidences suddenly looked a lot less like coincidences and a lot more like strategic shielding. Meanwhile, Erika stayed silent. Completely silent. Not a story post. Not a statement. Nothing. And silence in a scandal like this is never neutral. Silence becomes fuel. People start assuming silence is guilt. They start filling in the blanks with their own theories, and TPUSA has given them enough over the years to work with. Micky's wife, on the other hand, kept posting cryptic hints like she knew exactly how much control she had over the narrative. She didn't reveal everything at once. She dropped pieces. Just enough to keep everyone watching. Just enough to keep Erika's name burning through the algorithm, and with every hint, the pressure grew. The chief of staff suddenly stopped appearing publicly. Meetings were canceled. Events quietly reshuffled. Staffers started posting motivational Bible quotes like that wasn't the biggest red flag of all. The entire environment felt tense, like everyone was waiting for something bigger to drop, something no one could deny, something undeniable, unfixable, irreversible, and that's exactly where things started to take a turn. Because just when everyone thought the situation couldn't escalate any further, Micky McCoy's wife decided she was done playing subtle. She dropped what she called a preview, though honestly, it felt more like a political earthquake disguised as a casual Instagram post. No screenshots yet, no explicit messages, nothing directly incriminating, but the captions were enough to spark a full-blown meltdown inside TPUSA. She wrote, "Some people preach values publicly while practicing something very different privately. Don't make me post what I have," and that was it. That single sentence hit harder than any screenshot could have because it implied the existence of something even worse. Something damaging enough to shatter reputations that had been curated, polished, and worshipped online for years. Inside TPUSA, the panic wasn't quiet anymore. Staffers started unfollowing people, archiving old photos, and suddenly remembering they had dentist appointments that required them to miss work. Rumor has it that internal leadership held an emergency meeting where Erika's name came up more times than the organization's actual mission statement. And the chief of staff? Completely ghosted. The man who normally posted motivational quotes about patriotism and honor suddenly went radio silent. Not a story, not a post, not even a like. People noticed. People always notice silence. The internet treats it like a confession. Meanwhile, the internet detectives were in full force. They started digging into the timeline that Micky's wife hinted at. According to her vague breadcrumbs, there were private meetups labeled as planning sessions, but allegedly didn't involve any planning that benefited TPUSA. There were rumors of late-night calls that lasted longer than necessary. And suddenly, people remembered times Erika and the chief of staff showed up to events separately but left together. It could all be coincidence. But the audience wasn't buying coincidence anymore. Not after the way Micky's wife positioned everything like she was narrating the opening of a true crime documentary. Anonymous sources, whether real or invented by the internet's creativity, began popping up in comments sections, claiming they had seen something weird before, or always had suspicions, or heard from someone who knew someone. And the funniest, this video, every comment, no matter how vague or ridiculous, added more pressure to the situation. It wasn't about proof anymore. It was about perception, and perception was spiraling out of control. Suddenly, Erika's wholesome, modern, conservative woman image began cracking like a cheap dollar store phone screen. Then came the so-called leaked itinerary. A screenshot started circulating showing an internal TPUSA schedule that had Erika and the chief of staff booked for multiple private meetings across 3 different conferences. The authenticity was questionable. The formatting looked off, and honestly, the whole thing might have been edited on someone's cousin's laptop, but that didn't matter. People believed it. Once a narrative takes off, the truth becomes optional. And the fact that neither Erika nor the chief of staff addressed it only made the theory snowball harder.
But here's where things got even messier. Political commentators outside TPUSA started chiming in. Some said it was all a setup. Some said TPUSA was covering it up to protect donors. Others claimed it was just the latest example of the organization's pattern of internal dysfunction. Every voice added more smoke to the fire, and every tweet amplified the chaos. Even rival conservative influencers, the ones who usually pretend to be polite, began hinting that certain people had gotten away with too much for too long. Everyone knew who they meant. Nobody had to say her name, and while this online circus kept spinning, Micky McCoy's wife was watching it all unfold like an artist observing her masterpiece come alive. She didn't deny anything. She didn't clarify anything. She simply posted one more line. The truth always comes out, even when people try to bury it. And that was enough to trigger a new wave of speculation that maybe, just maybe, there was a cover-up happening behind the scenes. TPUSA leadership, according to insiders, was scrambling. Some wanted to suspend Erika temporarily. Others argued she was too high profile to touch without solid evidence. There were whispers of a private internal review. People talked about lawyers getting involved. And the chief of staff? Still silent. People began speculating he had been instructed not to speak, or worse, told to disappear from the spotlight until the storm passed. But the storm wasn't passing. It was growing darker. Then the strangest thing happened. Old event footage began resurfacing, not because someone leaked it, but because people went hunting for it. Clips of Erika laughing a little too hard at the chief of staff's jokes. Clips of them hugging a little too long. Clips of them whispering backstage with no context. All harmless individually, but stitched together? The internet made it look like a full-blown documentary of forbidden affection, and the public loved it. They didn't care if it was exaggerated. They didn't care if it was speculative. They cared that it was entertaining, dramatic, and messy. Everything TPUSA claims not to be dopped by this point. The question wasn't whether something happened. The question became how much worse the allegations could get. People were waiting refreshing timelines, checking stories, watching every move Erika didn't make. Because silence is powerful. But sometimes, silence is just a sign that something bigger is coming, and that something bigger arrives sooner than anyone expected. When a new detail surfaced that turned the entire situation from scandalous to potentially explosive. Because just when everyone thought the scandal had peaked, when every theory had been exhausted, every clip dissected, every blurry screenshot turned into a full-scale investigation, that's when the real bomb dropped. And it didn't come from trolls, anonymous sources, or political drama channels. It came from someone inside TPUSA, someone who claimed they had been warned not to speak, someone who said they were tired of the hypocrisy, someone who insisted this wasn't just a messy affair, it was a power structure built on silence, favoritism, and backroom deals that were now cracking open because one wife refused to stay quiet. The anonymous insider sent a long message to multiple commentary pages, all saying the same thing. This isn't the first time Erika has been protected. And that sense alone was enough to push the entire narrative off a cliff. They claimed that several internal complaints had been filed over the past 2 years about inappropriate closeness between certain staff members, including Erika and the chief of staff, but those complaints mysteriously disappeared, either buried, or ignored, or never logged in the first place. And the whistleblower claimed to know why, because the chief of staff allegedly had the authority to erase things before upper leadership ever saw them. This changed everything. Suddenly, the scandal wasn't just about rumored late-night calls, or secret meetings, or awkward conference hugs. It was now about deliberate cover-ups, abuse of authority, manipulating internal processes to protect one person. And if that was true, then this wasn't a moral scandal. It was a structural one. People online went feral. They began demanding answers. They started naming names. They wanted someone to admit something, anything, even a small detail that could confirm what everyone already believed. Meanwhile, Micky McCoy's wife posted one cryptic line: "I warned them." They didn't listen. And that was enough to convince thousands of viewers that she had way more than she was revealing. But the insider's message didn't stop there. They described a specific incident during a major TPUSA event, where Erika allegedly received special treatment, private access rooms, bypassing security, and last-minute schedule changes that seemed designed for secrecy. They said she had unrestricted access to places other staff couldn't enter. And the chief of staff? He was always nearby, always accommodating, always rearranging things for her convenience. The insider claimed these privileges annoyed other team members, but nobody wanted to question it out loud because the chief of staff was known to retaliate against people who got in his way. And when that claim hit social media, the atmosphere shifted again. This was no longer gossip. This was corruption territory. A place where image, morality, and branding collapsed under the weight of personal power trips and favoritism. People started asking, what else has been hidden? Who else has been protected? How long has this been happening? The strangest thing was Erika's continued silence. At this point, anyone with a functioning PR team would have released a statement, even a vague one. Something like, "These claims are false," or "We're reviewing this internally," or at minimum, "I deny any wrongdoing." But nothing came. No denial, no explanation, no rebuttal. Instead, Erika continued to post her typical polished lifestyle content, Bible verses, outfit photos, motivational captions, like she wasn't the main character of the biggest political TikTok scandal of the month. And that silence lit the internet on fire even more. Comment sections flooded. Why won't she deny it? If it wasn't true, she would say so. She looks guilty. Every hour she said nothing, the speculation doubled. Every cute photo she posted got hijacked by people asking about the chief of staff. Even her supporters struggled to defend her. Because how do you defend someone who refuses to defend themselves? Then came the second whistleblower. This one even bolder. They claimed Erika and the chief of staff weren't just close. They were influencing hiring decisions, budget approvals, and even speaker lineups. The whistleblower said, if Erika wanted something, it happened. If she didn't want something, it disappeared. They described it as an unspoken hierarchy, where Erika had more pull than most directors, simply because of her connection to the chief of staff. And that allegation broke the internet in half. People began calling for formal investigations, complaints, resignations, commentary. Channels started producing hourly updates. Podcasts began episodes with "This Erika situation is getting worse." Even political rivals outside TPUSA weaponized the scandal, mocking the organization for preaching values they allegedly couldn't practice internally. Meanwhile, Micky McCoy's wife remained cryptic but confident. She didn't look scared. She didn't look stressed. She looked like someone who had been holding on to the truth for too long and finally felt justified watching it unravel publicly. She dropped another message: if they push me, I'll release everything. And that single word, everything, sent chills through the entire conversation. Because what was everything? Screenshots? Videos? Voicemails? Emails? Something bigger? Nobody knew, but everyone wanted to. And that's the exact moment the story stopped being a scandal and became a countdown. A countdown to the moment Micky McCoy's wife decides she's had enough silence, enough hypocrisy, enough gaslighting, and lets the world see what she's been holding back. A countdown to the moment Erika finally has to speak. A countdown to the moment TPUSA can't ignore the whispers anymore. And whether it's today, tomorrow, or next week, everyone knows this isn't over. Not even close. Now look, if after everything you just heard, you're still sitting there thinking, there's no way this gets any worse, trust me, this story hasn't even reached its final form yet. Because the silence, the whispers, the missing statements, the disappearing posts, the insider leaks, All of it is leading towards something nobody in the TPUSA side is ready to face. And the moment Micky McCoy's wife decides to hit post, the internet is going to explode all over again. But here's the real question. What do you think is hiding behind that silence? Do you believe Erika's protecting herself? Protecting someone else? Or is this all just one giant political love triangle waiting to collapse live on camera? I want to know your theories, your predictions, your wildest guesses, because sometimes the audience uncovers the truth faster than the people involved dot. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you think is coming next. And don't forget, if you want the real updates, the messy updates, the updates that make headline reporters sweat, make sure you hit like, smash that subscribe button, and turn on notifications. Because the moment the next piece drops, you're going to want to be the first to know. You're going to want to be the first to know.